This is a continuation of an Oriole road trip. Birds have won 7 of 8 on this trip. Before we have the leadoff batter, let's pause for station identification on the Orioles Baseball Network.
This is the American Forces Radio and Television Service.
At 790 and 1420, this is American Forces Radio.
It's the end to the zone.
Thank you very much, Bill. Good evening, everybody. Bunbury stands in against Teon, and this is one of those very extra special baseball games that comes your way not often enough. Teon is into the move, and the pitch to Bunbury to start the ball game is an overhand serve, and the strike is called, and we're underway from Fenway Park. Bunbury, the designated hitter tonight, a .274 swinger, and he's up against one of the most talented and tough competitors in the American League. A ground ball is hit to the shortstop, Burleson, a backhanded grab and a good throw to first, and Bunbury is the first out of the ball game. The solid veteran Louis Teon tonight making his 33rd start. He has thrown 16 complete ball games. This year, Teon has won 16 and lost 13. His earned run is 4.23. Teon is one of those fellows that you can look at, and there are quite a few of them in baseball, and you can say he's a pro. He's a money player. And now here is Royal Stillman to bat in the number 2 spot against Louis Teon, left-handed swinger. And Teon's first offering is a snapping curveball, and the strike is called to Stillman. Now, Stillman will bat, and then when the Orioles take the field, Belanger, of course, will play at shortstop. Stillman is a .286 hitter in 7 games this year for the Orioles. Change-up, ground ball, base hit, or off the glove of the first baseman, Yastrzemski, for a base knock. Stillman with a ground ball sharply hit down the first base side. Yastrzemski dove. It was too hot to handle. It carried off the glove and rolled out into right field into foul ground. And Stillman has reached with another base hit. And now out of the dugout comes Mark Belanger, and he will run for Royal Stillman, who has picked up the Orioles' first base hit of the ball game. A solid smash down the first base side. Yastrzemski did a heck of a job to even touch the ball. So Stillman now has contributed his 3rd hit in 8 trips to the plate for the Orioles. And Bob Gritch will face Louis Teon. Belanger is now running and at first base. The Teon pitch to Bob. Strike is called, and the Teon now has treated each batter the same way. The first pitch to Bunbury was a curveball for a strike. The first pitch to Royal Stillman was a slider for a strike. The first pitch to Gritch is a fastball for a strike. Teon's 1-strike offering to Bobby, hitting .262, is a strike 2 called over the inside corner of the hand. One out, runner at first base, Mark Belanger. Stillman just singled off the glove of Yastrzemski. And the 2-strike pitch on the way to Bob Gritch. Teon makes him wait a little while. Gritch looks relaxed waiting. Now the Boston right-hander, out of that unusual stretch, finally gets to the set position, and the 2-strike offering is swung on and missed, and Teon has recorded his first strikeout. 2 down in the Oriole half of the first inning, and the batter now will be Lee May. Lee is a .264 swinger on the year with 20 home runs and 94 runs batted in. Lee stands in, waiting the first offering from Teon. Belanger leads first. Down comes the pitch. A strike is called. To each of the 4 hitters to face Teon thus far in the first inning, he has thrown the first pitch for a strike. May, with 20 home runs, has hit 4 home runs against the Red Sox this year. 3 have been hit here in this ballpark. 2 against Cleveland, and 1 against the guy he looks at now, Louis Teon. The 1-strike offering to Lee May is swung on and missed, and we have a count of 2 strikes. Now Bunbury opened the ball game and grounded to the shortstop Burleson, and Stillman singled off the glove of Yastrzemski. A strikeout to Gritch, the 2-strike pitch to Lee May, a high foul that is going to be out of play on the first base side. So Teon is off to a very strong opening inning here in Fenway, and you know that there are no vacant seats. There's just a great big mob in the ballpark tonight. People who had tickets for this ball game were the people who were fortunate enough to order and to purchase those tickets a month ago or maybe more. 2 strikes, the count to the batter, Lee May. 2 out, Belanger at first, and we're just underway at Fenway, and this is one of those, believe me, crucial ball games. The stretch by Tiant, and he's ready to go again with a 2-strike offering to May. The veteran hits the set, now throws. Sidearm pitch, a swing and a miss. He strikes out May, and that's it for the Orioles in their half of the first inning. At the end of a half inning of play in Fenway tonight, the Orioles nothing, and the Red Sox are coming to bat.
Elsewhere in the American League, Cleveland is at Detroit. Eckersley against Arroyo. Eckersley trying for his 13th win. Chicago is at Kansas City. Jefferson against Leonard. Leonard trying for win number 14. New York is at Milwaukee. Gura against Anderson. California is at Minnesota. Singer against Hughes. Hughes trying to win his 15th. And Oakland is at Texas for 2. They were rained out, those 2 teams, on Monday, so they go for 2 on Tuesday. Bonson and Blue for Oakland. Jenkins and Perry for Texas. Both Jenkins and Perry are 16 and 16. Bonson is 9 and 12, and Blue is trying for number 20 tonight. His record 19 and 11. In the National League, Pittsburgh at Chicago in an afternoon game. Final score in that game: Pittsburgh 22. That's right, you heard it right. Pittsburgh 22, Chicago nothing. That's a club record for the most runs scored in a shutout. Pittsburgh with its second highest run total in the club's history, the record 24-6 back in 1925. A 3-hit shutout for John Candelaria, 8 and 5. Pittsburgh wrapping out 22 hits, 22 runs on 24 hits. Here's more on that game. Let's get back to hear about it.
Well, there was a little bit of Major League history made this afternoon. Not only the Pittsburgh 22-0 victory over the Chicago Cubs, a game played at Wrigley Field before some 4,900 who witnessed Major League history. The big man who made it was Pirates second backer Rennie Stennett. He became the second in Major League history to deliver 7 consecutive base hits in that ball game. The Pirates had 24 hits to go with their 22 runs. Stennett additionally had 2 hits in the very same inning in 2 innings. He had 2 hits in the first inning. He had 2 hits in the Pirates' 5th. The 22-0 Pittsburgh win was also the largest shutout margin victory in modern baseball history. The winner was John Candelaria, who pitched a 3-hitter, and Rick Russell was the Cub loser. In National League night games, Houston plays at Cincinnati. Montreal is at New York with Carruthers against Matlack. The Phillies play in St. Louis. There are 2 West Coast games tonight, San Diego at L.A., and the Braves play the Giants in San Francisco. Now in our league, the Indians against the Tigers tonight in Detroit, the Yankees against the Brewers this evening in Milwaukee, and the other night affairs, Chicago at KC, California at Minnesota. There is a doubleheader underway tonight in Arlington, Texas. In the second inning of the first game, the A's nothing, the Rangers nothing, Vida Blue against Gaylord Perry. That's the first of 2. Well, we'll go down to the Boston half of the first inning, and up on the mound, Jim Palmer, the only member of the Orioles on the American League All-Star team this year. This is his 35th start, the 5th time that Palmer has gone out against Boston. And leading off is designated hitter Cecil Cooper, a .321 swinger. A ground ball is hit back to the mound. Palmer's got it, a throw to first, and on 1 pitch, Cooper has been retired. Red Sox fans kind of happy to see Cecil in the lineup tonight. He was hit on the right elbow last night, and they took him to the hospital for an examination. Appeared to be nothing more, and it was proven to be nothing more than a bruise. And he's kind of got a sore arm tonight as he faces Palmer. Here now, Denny Doyle, hitting a .284 swinger, and the Red Sox second baseman, another left-handed bat. Palmer looks him over, getting the sign from Duncan, and here's Jim's first offering. It's inside, ball 1. It'll be Cooper, Doyle, and Yastrzemski. They're the top 3 in the Boston batting order. And you can feel the electricity in the air tonight here at Fenway. The 1-0 pitch on the way is a strike call by the guy doing that job. That's Joe Brinkman. He's the ball and strike umpire tonight. Palmer against Tiant, a very important ball game. The 1-1 pitch. High fly ball down the left field side. Chasing toward the seats comes Don Baylor, and it's going to be into the seats and out of play. So the count to Doyle is a ball and 2 strikes. Palmer has split his other 4 starts against the Boston club, gaining a 3-0 win over Dick Pole June the 21st and Louis Tiant August the 5th. Then he lost to Pole 5-2 on the 30th of June, and he lost to Rick Wise in 10 innings 3-2 September the 3rd when Cooper hit that home run in the 10th inning. A ball and 2 strikes to Denny Doyle. The Palmer pitch is much too high on the count of 2 balls, 2 strikes. Brooks at third, Belanger at short, Grich at second. Lee May at first around the Oriole infield with Baylor in left, Blair in center, Singleton in right field, and Duncan is doing the catching tonight. The Palmer pitch, a curve, hit in the air. Deep center, Blair is racing back, still back, over his head, and off the wall. Denny Doyle is the second. Doyle on his way to third, and there'll be no throw to third. Doyle has tripled over the head of center fielder Blair. The deepest part of Fenway Park is 420 feet on the center field side of the home bullpen. Well, about 10 yards, 15 yards to the left of that 420 marker is where the Doyle fly ball came to rest. And when the fly ball outruns Paul Blair, then you know it has really been hit. Here now is Carl Yastrzemski. Doyle is at third with one out. And the Orioles now are forced to play their infield up. And Fenway Park now explodes in enthusiasm and excitement for their Red Sox. The Orioles are a step off the grass all the way around. Palmer is now saying time. He wants to do a little groundwork in front of that rubber. The grip is just not as comfortable as he wants it to be. Yastrzemski, a 274 swing around the year, facing Palmer. Runner at third is Doyle and one out. Palmer's first one to Yastrzemski, low and inside for a ball. When you face the Red Sox, you face the club that tops the American League in batting. They hit as a team 276. They lead with hits. They lead in total bases. They lead in slugging. They lead in doubles. They're second in triples and fourth in home runs. A changeup from Palmer is low to Yastrzemski, and the count is 2 balls and no strikes. Infield up. And a 2-ball, no-strike pitch due to Carl Yastrzemski. Palmer ready to work. The big right-hander throw, swinging a foul on the screen behind the plate, and we've got a count of 2-1. Brinkman bringing another baseball out to Jim Palmer. Palmer, of course, will ask for more changes, more switches, more exchanges with the baseball than about any other pitcher in our league. Doyle, the runner at third base, and the count now 2 balls, 1 strike to Yastrzemski. Here comes that buzz of excitement again as Palmer is ready to throw. His pitch, swinging a ground ball down the first base side. It is Palmer making the play in fair ground. He tags Yastrzemski, and holding third is Doyle. Palmer did something that was very exceptional on this Baltimore chop. Now, the ball from Yastrzemski took a short hop and then went up in the air as if it were a pop-up. Palmer actually surrounded that ball. By that I mean he went to the first base line and turned to make sure he was looking at home plate and down the third base side when he made the grab of the ground ball. He wanted to watch Doyle. And when he was sure that Doyle wasn't going anywhere, he made the grab and tagged Yastrzemski for the second out. So with 2 down now, the Oriole infield backs off, and here comes the celebrated rookie Fredland. He and his teammate Jim Rice last night on the same ball knocked in their 100th run of the year. Each of them with 100 runs batted in. The Palmer pitch to Lynn. Swing and a miss, strike 1. That hasn't happened for a long time. The last time 2 rookies on the same club drove in 100 runs, you'd have to go back to 1938 and fellows like Ken Keltner and Jeff Heath of Cleveland. The last Boston rookie to knock in 100 runs was a fellow named Walter Dropo in 1950. Strike 2 is called over the outside corner at the knees to Lynn. 2 strikes now to the center fielder. Doyle at third. The infield is backed off. Palmer taking his good old time with 2 out. He's ahead of Lynn with a count 2 strikes. And let's see how he goes to work on this left-handed cutter. The 2-strike pitch on the way to Lynn. He struck him out. A swing and a miss, and Lynn goes down. And at the end of an inning of play in Fenway, it's the Orioles nothing and the Red Sox nothing.
Well, you heard Chuck Thompson talking about that game in Pittsburgh between the Pirates and the Cubs. 22-0 was the final. A couple of major league records set in that ball game, but Pittsburgh jumped off to a 9-0 lead against the Cubs in the first inning, and that 9-run total is considerably short of the major league total for the most runs scored in the first inning. I believe it was 16 scored in the first inning. That's the major league record for the most runs scored in the first, but they didn't score in the second. They added 2 more in the third to make it 11-0, 1 more in the fourth, and then 6 more in the fifth to make it 18. They scored a couple more in the sixth to make it 20, and in the seventh they scored 22. And I'm sure there are a number of Little League baseball players listening to this broadcast right now, and let me well assure you, the next time you get blown out like that and you have to come home and tell Mom that you lost about 38-6 or whatever the score is, believe me, it happens in the major leagues as well as it does in the Little Leagues.
Well, the Orioles are home this weekend with Milwaukee. On Saturday night, that will be observed in Baltimore and specifically at the stadium as Bonanza night. The ball game's at 7:30. Every adult on Saturday, that's everybody 18 and older, will be given a certificate, and one which... Bonanza night, and there's a lot more. All ready to go to the Oriole half of the second inning, and it'll be Singleton, Baylor, and Blair in that order against Louis Tiant.
Right field, Singleton.
Singleton, a 306 slinger on the year, and he's just been Mr. Consistent for the Orioles. He leads the clubs in many departments. He needs only one more walk to set a new club record. He now has 109. He tied Buford's record Sunday in Detroit. Here's Tiant's pitch to Ken Singleton. That slow curveball that he didn't find the strike zone, ball one. Tiant will throw from many different positions and with many different speeds. He is almost a right-handed Mike Cuellar. Now the 1-0 pitch to Singleton. Here's the strike. He pops that hard one over the outer portion of the letters. In addition to walks, Singleton leads the Orioles with his 306 average. He has the most hits, 171, the most runs, 85, and the most doubles, 34. Swing and a miss. Hard breaking stuff from Tiant. Singleton, Baylor, Blair are due behind Tiant tonight. The Boston infield with Petroselli at third, Burleson at short, Doyle at second, and Yastrzemski at first. Rice in left, Lynn in center, Evans in right field, and down comes the 1-2 offering to Singleton. Kind of a screwball, and some strike three calls. Singleton is called out on strike. He said not a word to the plate umpire, but you got the feeling he didn't think too much of the call. So Tiant now has fans 3 in a row. Grinch May to end the first, and Singleton to start the second. And here now is Don Baylor. Baylor hitting .279. Baylor and Lee May are the two prime power bats in the Oriole lineup. Baylor leads the club with 22 home runs. The Tiant pitch is low and away, ball one. Baylor has hit 3 home runs against the Red Sox, 2 of them here, and 1 in Baltimore. So 1-0 to Don. Swinging a line drive, well hit to left field. Rice is back in front of the scoreboard. It's over his head. He's playing the carom. Baylor will have to stop with a single, a Fenway Park single. A line shot over the head of the left fielder, above the auxiliary scoreboard in left field, and Rice played the carom perfectly, and Baylor has to hold with a base knock with a single. Seems strange, to talk about a fellow who hits a line drive off the wall and gets yet only a single. Well, this is Fenway Park, and this is unlike any other ballpark in baseball, and one of the most exciting ballparks in baseball. The batter is Blair, hitting .216 at the moment. Baylor with a good lead at first base. That unusual stretching motion by Tiant. All ready to go now. He hits that set position, a head bob, and the pitch to Blair is that slow overhand curve, and it's high for a ball. I don't know how to describe Tiant's stretch motion to you other than it's kind of like a bartender shaking a cocktail as he starts up over his head and then comes down to his waist. Throw the first sidearm throw, but back in time is Baylor. Yastrzemski made a pretty good throw. The sidearm throw was kind of sinking. It got in the dirt, and Yastrzemski made the good grab. Now the 1-0 pitch. Tiant to Paul Blair. A head bob. Another head bob. Now the pitch. A curve, and it's low. 2 balls and no strikes. The crowd reaction through just the first inning of the ball game is quite unusual. You notice how quiet it is right now. They react to every pitch, and then they get very still. And when the triple by Doyle just got the whole ballpark up on its feet, and then Palmer came through with a strikeout, it got very quiet again, understandably so. Listen how still. The throw to first. Out! Baylor is picked off. Baylor is out at first base. Tiant sidearm throw. Yastrzemski picked him off. The call by first base umpire Cooney is disputed by Baylor, is disputed by first base coach Stoller. The reason being the tag was made shoulder high with a hand that we felt on the bag. Baylor beats. Weaver is coming out, but the call will stand. Baylor has been picked off. His hand was on the bag, and now Shylock is coming running in to meet Weaver. The first base coach Stoller's point, as I've tried to explain, was he felt Baylor's hand was on the bag, and the tag was made shoulder high. And Stoller disputed the call of the first base umpire, Cooney. Cooney was right on top of the play. Weaver went out to the umpire-in-chief, the crew chief of this gang, Nestor Shylock, and had a very brief word or two to say, and now very quickly is back in the dugout. Baylor has been picked off. Well, I told you, this is not an ordinary kind of a ball game. This is going to be something. And the 2-0 pitch coming to Blair, a high foul ball will find a place in the pocket of a fan down the first base side. 2 balls and a strike to Paulie. I guess Baylor has been picked off before this year, but I'm hard-pressed to remember when. Now the 2-1 offering to Blair. Here's a bunt. Third base way, it's going to be foul, and Petrocelli picks it up. So the count to Blair now goes 2 balls and 2 strikes. Blair has been doing rather well in his last 5 games. He has had 7 hits in 19 trips. The Orioles, as a club, have been moving along in fine fashion. They have won 10 of their last 12, including 5 in a row, which is their second longest streak of the year. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Blair. 2 out and nobody on now that Baylor has been picked off. And the tee-on pitch to the Orioles center fielder. High fly ball, center field way. Lynn should make the play without too much difficulty. Waiting for it. He's got it for the final out at the end of an inning and a half in Boston. The Orioles nothing and the Red Sox nothing.
That's one thing that Nestor Shylock, he's the senior umpire in the American League, and I think the crowd really gets a kick out of him. The players and the managers don't necessarily get a kick out of him, but I think the crowd does, because he's one of the umpires that realizes that baseball is in the entertainment business, and by and large, he's pretty entertaining out there. But one thing about Nestor Shylock, and the players know this as well as the managers, he controls that baseball game, and things just do not get out of hand very long, although, ironically, it was his crew that was involved in that fiasco with the Cleveland Indians and the Texas Rangers last year. You might recall that ball game being forfeited to the Texas Rangers after Cleveland fans threw beer bottles and all kinds of material out onto the playing field. I don't think anybody could have controlled that situation. But anyway, Nestor Shylock, the senior umpire in the American League, has worked 4 World Series, and he was one of the top-rated umpires in that infamous player appraisal of umpires that was published in the Sporting News last year. But nonetheless, a very good umpire and a very respected umpire among the coaches and the players in the American League.
Well, here's the other half of that dynamic pair in Boston this year. Here is Jim Rice. He and his teammate Fredland have just set the league on fire. These fellows have been very consistent and very good all year long. Rice hitting .310, a swing and a miss, strike 1. He, in truth, has been having a little trouble at the plate here of late. But how much trouble does a fellow have who has knocked in 100 runs and hit 22 home runs? He cannot be having very much difficulty. Palmer comes inside with a fastball. Rice gets a piece of it, fouls it up the screen, and Palmer now has 2 quick strikes to the strong left fielder Jim Rice. Lynn is an entirely different kind of a ball player. He is a very accomplished ball player in every phase of the game. Now the 2-strike offering coming to Rice. Palmer's pitch, low and outside, and the count is 1-2. Rice is just a power hitter. He can overpower a lot of pitchers. Defensively, he is not in the league with Fred Lynn. The 1-2 offering, high and away, and the count goes 2 balls and 2 strikes. Palmer trying to get Rice to chase some bad offerings. He's refused them so far. 2 balls, 2 strikes to the right-hand cutting Rice. Palmer in the move. Down comes the 2-2 to Jim. High foul. It'll be out of play. So we're back to do it again. There are those who believe that in the future, the man we're looking at right now, Jim Rice, may sometime be a better hitter than Fred Lynn. Now the 2-2 pitch. Palmer throws, swinging a foul behind the plate. The count holds at 2-2. But just think what Lynn and Rice have meant to the Boston Red Sox this year. The difference between the both Sox of 74 and of 75, simply 2 men, Lynn and Rice. The 2-2 pitch coming down to Rice. High foul ball, first base side. It appears to be out of play. Lee May is over to give it a look, but it's back in about 7 or 8 rows. So Palmer battling Rice with a count, 2 balls, 2 strikes. guess another fellow that you'd have to say made quite a difference to the Boston club this year, too, would be the fellow who plays second base, Denny Doyle. Palmer with a 2-2 offering to Rice. Struck him out. Swing and a miss. Rice goes down, and we'll pause briefly now for station identification. This is the Baltimore Oriole Baseball Network.
This is the American Forces Radio and Television Service.
It's the end to their zone.
Here is Carlton Fisk, at times a brilliant Boston catcher, a fellow who has just been injury-prone ever since he's come to this ball club. Hitting .323 at the moment. He is the possessor of a 7-game hitting streak. Palmer looks him over, and his first offering to Carlton is much too high for a ball. The 1-0 is high and away to Fisk, ball 2. Two balls, no strikes to Fisk. No score. We're on the bottom of the second inning. This will be a 2-game set here in Fenway. A ball is outside. 3 balls and no strikes. And Palmer having a spot of control difficulty here to Carlton Fisk. Now the 3-0 time. Fisk out in front of the plate swatting at a bug, an insect of some sort. 3-0 pitch. Here it is. Check swing ground ball. Hit toward the second baseman Grit. He's got it. The throw to first, and Carlton Fisk is the second out of the inning. He, in truth, was trying to stop the swing. He did not get the bat out of the way. And the ball just trickled out to Grit, and he was thrown out. 2 down, and here now comes Petrocelli. Nope. They've switched. It's going to be Dwight Evans and Petrocelli behind him, which is the way we had the original batting order. And then we looked at the scoreboard, and the batting order was changed. Petrocelli was batting ahead of Evans. Now they're correcting it on the scoreboard. So rather than Petrocelli here, it's going to be Dwight Evans, a .279 hitter. Evans will bat the way the lineup was posted in the dugout, but we were told that was subject to change. The pitch coming to Evans is inside for a ball. This is the guy who had a great night last night for the Red Sox, 4 for 4. Evans is hitting .279, 23 doubles, 6 triples, and 12 home runs. Everybody hits in boxcar figures for this Red Sox club. Palmer is high again, a ball 2. The 2-0 pitch coming down to Dwight Evans. Palmer works. Here's a high foul looping up over the roof and out of play here in Boston. Those of you just tuning in, happen our way across the dial. We're at Fenway Park. 2 very important, crucial ball games, particularly so for the Baltimore Orioles. No score. Boston batting bottom of the second. 2-1 pitch is ball low. You can tell by the reaction of Duncan. He felt the pitch was better than it was called. 3 balls and 1 strike. Now Evans requests time and he backs out. And just as quickly, the Boston right fielder is in and ready to go once more. Here's Palmer's move and the 3-1 pitch to Evans. High fly ball down the left field side. It looks like it's going to be on the roof or in the seats down in that left field corner. On the roof and out of play. 3-2. We've had the privilege of talking to a lot of Baltimore people, and believe me, somehow or other, they got tickets. They order them in some instances, a month or 2 months in advance. Now the 3-2 pitch on the way to Evans. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Palmer has strikeout number 3 at the end of 2 in Boston. It's the Orioles nothing, the Red Sox nothing.
Here's top news in brief from American Contemporary Radio. I'm Mike Dewey. New York City teachers have voted to accept a new 2-year contract offer from the city and end their strike. Classes should resume in New York Thursday. In Chicago, no end of the teachers' walkout is in sight, but teachers have started setting up alternative classrooms. Polls close in New Hampshire in about 10 minutes, and the turnout has been heavier than expected. In Manchester, New Hampshire, ABC's Frank Reynolds says,
I think both candidates are insisting that the large turnout today will actually benefit them, but I believe at the moment they're both somewhat confused by it. Nobody can really interpret just what it's going to mean. President Ford traveled through Republican areas last week in an attempt to stir the Republican faithful. The Democrat believes the high number of absentee ballots, particularly from students, may benefit him.
And Reynolds says both parties are convinced today's election in New Hampshire will not end in a virtual tie as it did last year. That's ABC News in brief. Mike Dewey reporting for American Contemporary Radio.
Well, here are the dates of the Orioles' final homestand of the regular season. And the homestand begins just a couple of nights from now. It'll be Friday night with the Milwaukee Brewers coming to town. Milwaukee is also in town Saturday night, and then a single game Sunday afternoon. Monday of next week is an open date. Then the Tigers are there for the final 3 home games of the regular season. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night next week. Here's a swing and a high fly ball to deep center. Back goes Lynn, setting up near the warning track. Lynn is there to make the catch, and on one pitch, Brooks Robinson has been retired. It's the deepest part of any ballpark, but it is particularly deep in this park and also in, Tiger Stadium in Detroit. You have a center field wall that's 440 feet away. Well, the deepest part of this ballpark is 420 feet away. Here now is Dave Duncan. Duncan hitting .209. The Orioles have had a couple of runners on, one each in the first inning and in the second inning. And that's as much as they've been able to generate thus far against Boston's Louis Tiant. And the right-hander's pitch, sidearm breaking stuff is low and inside, ball 1. If you haven't seen Tiant, you know, he's very interesting, and he will corkscrew sometimes completely around with his back to the plate and then unwinds and fires to the right-handed hitters many times, sidearm. Now he's up on top with a breaking pitch that's high. By up on top means throwing directly overhand. And the count, 2 balls, no strikes. Well, 10 days ago, the Orioles were 8 games out of it with 25 left. Now the 2-0 pitch. Swinging a ground ball, grabbed on the first top by Petroselli, recovers and throws the first in time to get Duncan. And that by far is the best defensive play of the game. It was more of a line drive than a ground ball to hit maybe 4 or 5 feet in front of Petroselli at third. He made a backhanded stab on the line and threw out Dave Duncan. We have 2 down in the top of the third, and now designated hitter Bumbry. He bounced to the shortstop in the first inning. Very good play by Rico Petroselli, as in truth, Carl Yastrzemski made a very good play to flag down a ground ball hit by Royal Stillman in the first inning. Here's a swing and a ground ball at the second baseman. It comes up on a chest-high hop to Doyle. The throw to first, and the Birds are 3 up and 3 down. At the end of 2.5, Baltimore nothing, Boston nothing.
Rookie Mike Vail of the New York Mets, batting a nifty .342 since being called up from Tidewater in mid-August, extended his hitting streak to 23 games Monday. That's the longest in Major League Baseball this season. Vail singled twice and drove home 2 runs, including the winning one in the 8th inning to lead the Mets to a 3-2 victory over Montreal at Shea Stadium. Jerry Kuzman outpitched Steve Rogers. The 23-game hitting streak is a modern National League record for a rookie and ties the Mets club mark. You know, every time you hear modern National League record, they're talking from 1900 on. The American League started in 1900. The National League starting in, I believe it was 1876, something like that. I'll check it out for you. But anyway, when you hear modern Major League record, that's what they're talking about. 1900 and later. Elsewhere in the National League on Monday, St. Louis edged Philadelphia 7-6. That drops to second place Phil 6 behind Pittsburgh. The Pirates split an afternoon doubleheader with the Cubs, losing the opener 6-5 and taking the second 9-1. Los Angeles turned back San Diego 5-4 as Bert Hooton notched his 11th straight. Atlanta collected 18 hits to bomb San Francisco 12-0. In the American League, Boston 9-7 over Milwaukee. Kansas City beat the White Sox. California over Minnesota. Oakland and Texas rained out.
Well, let's go down to Rico Petroselli. Petroselli leading off here in this bottom of the third inning. Rico is hitting .243. Right-handed swinger, and the Palmer pitch to Petroselli is high for a ball. Petroselli, Burleson, and Cooper are the trio of batters due against Palmer in the bottom of the third without a score. Check swing foul right behind the plate. And the count now 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, there's just one topic of conversation around the hub city today, and that's baseball, the Sox and the Orioles. Now, the 1-1 offering, Palmer to Petroselli, is on the way. There's a smash, well hit. Looks like it might make the screen. It is going to be a home run for Petroselli. Got one up in his sweet spot, and Petroselli has just hit his 7th home run of the year. And the Red Sox take a very quick 1-0 lead. That was a line shot into the screen above the big green wall out in left field here in Boston. And it's the Red Sox 1, the Orioles nothing. The pitch now to Burleson. Palmer throws low and outside, ball 1. Now Fenway Park begins to come to life a little bit. That's only the 18th home run pitch thrown by Palmer all year. And the pitch is low for a ball 2. That's only the second home run that Boston has hit off Palmer this year. The other one was hit by Cease Cooper down in Baltimore in the 10th inning that won a game for the Bo Sox 3-2. But 2-0 now. There's a ball 3 outside. And Palmer again wants to switch in baseball. It's thrown out to him by Brinkman. 1-0 the Red Sox, a solo home run by Rico Petrocelli. Palmer into the move, the 3-0 pitch. Ball 4 is outside. So Palmer follows a home run by Petrocelli with a walk to Burleson. And that'll bring in Steve Cooper, and it brings George Bamberger out of the dugout. Pitching coach Bamberger is making his first visit of the night to have a word or two to say with Jim Palmer, and he wants Dave Duncan out there also. Watching Palmer tonight, through the first couple of innings, you can't really be all that sure from way up here, but it appears to me he has not thrown too many curveballs. And the off-speed curveball, I don't think I've seen that once. Of course, pitchers always will change their pattern of pitching. They will continually change it in the course of the ball game. Here now is Cecil Cooper, the designated hitter, who hit Palmer's first pitch back to the mound and was thrown out in the first inning. Burleson, the runner at first base, takes a shallow sort of a lead, and Palmer now ready to concentrate on the left-handed swinging Cooper. Jim's first offing, they square, they bunt down the third base side. It's going to be a foul ball, and Brooks picks it up. So we have 1 strike to Cooper. Sox going to the bunting game. The Red Sox last night in this ballpark against the Milwaukee Brewers jumped out to an 8-0 lead and then had to hang on for dear life to win 9-7. 1 strike pitch, the bunt is on. It's bunted up in the air toward the mound. Palmer makes a pick up, and the throw to first is in time. He got the sacrificing Cecil Cooper. It's kind of just a soft kind of a pop. It got maybe 3-4 feet in the air, and Palmer grabbed it on the second or third hop and throws out Cooper. We have 1 gone with Burleson now at second base. And here comes Denny Doyle. He got a Palmer pitch to his liking in the first inning and ripped it over the head of the center fielder Blair all the way to the wall in deep center field. Good for 3 bases. Last time the Orioles were in here, this young man had a 22-game hitting streak alive, and it was stopped by the man on the mound, Jim Palmer. All ready to go. Palmer's first offering to left-hand batting Doyle. He's got a strike called. Looks right now a youngster in the National League with the New York Mets, Vail, has a 23-game hitting streak going. 1 strike, the count to Doyle. Palmer ready to work. He kicks and throws. Swing and a miss, and there's the Palmer curveball. 0-2 now. The count to Doyle. We mentioned how tough the Red Sox are with a bat, a .276 batting average. They just hit a ton. The Orioles hitting pretty well here of late are hitting only .252. And the 2-strike pitch to Doyle. Swing and a foul to the screen as Palmer jammed him with a good fastball. Johnny Pesky coaches down the first base side for Boston, and the third base job is handled by Don Zimmer. Runner at second base is Burleson. 1 out in the inning. We're in the bottom of the third. A Petrocelli home run has Boston leading 1-0. And the 2-strike pitch to Doyle. Off the commit of the catcher, and apparently it nicked the bat, too, because we see now as the runner, Burleson, was on his way to third. He is stopped and sent back to second base. So the check swing nicked the bat of Denny Doyle and caromed off the glove of Duncan all the way to the screen. A foul tip. Everything stays the same with the count 2 strikes. Palmer ready to go. The look to second, the pitch to Doyle. Here's a high pop-up out behind second base. Belanger, the shortstop, is there waiting, and Marks got it for the second out of the inning. 2 down now. Every time this fellow moves, almost anywhere, he creates excitement in baseball, and that is Carl Yastrzemski. He's the elder statesman of this Boston ball club. In the first inning against Palmer, he nubbed a ground ball right off the first base side. It took a short hop, then a big high hop. With Doyle at third base, Palmer made a very good play, fielding the ball while, keeping Doyle out of the corner of his eye. He grabbed it cleanly and watched Doyle and then tagged Yastrzemski for the out. The pitch to Carl. High pop foul. It looks as though it's out of play, and it is off the third base side. One strike. Two down in the Boston half of the third. Palmer now with a one-strike offering to Carl Yastrzemski. Jim out of the set deals. He's high. 1 ball, 1 strike. I kind of have a feeling, I've not been officially told, but I do have a feeling that they perhaps sold standing room only tonight here at Fenway. It looks that way, but that might not be accurate. We'll check a little later and see whether or not that is the case. They have done that on occasions in the past. The 1-1 to Yastrzemski, swinging a foul to the screen, so the count is 1 ball and 2 strikes. We see a lot of people standing behind the rooftop boxes down the left field line and the right field line. One ball and 2 strikes. The count to the batter, Yastrzemski. Palmer with a long look now, ready to go. The big right-hander's pitch coming to Yastrzemski is a curve outside, and we go 2 balls and 2 strikes. 21 victories, 10 defeats for Jim Palmer. Set a club record for complete games when he went the distance while beating Cleveland 10-2 the last time he pitched Thursday night. His pitch to Yastrzemski is swinging a line drive to right field. Singleton coming hard to the glove side is there. Singleton runs down the line drive off the bat of Yastrzemski for the final out at the end of 3. Boston 1, Baltimore nothing.
Here's the latest news on that National Football League player situation. Item number 1, the management of the New England Patriots locked out its players after they rejected the proposal of the National Football League Management Council. The Patriots began a strike against the National Football League last season and were joined by the New York Jets and the Washington Redskins. Now, the striking New England Patriots players rejected a 6-point compromise plan offered by the Football Management Council, although the details of that compromise plan have not been made public. Team President Robert Marr says the players will continue to be locked out of Schaefer Stadium and other team facilities until a settlement is reached. Meanwhile, the Washington Redskins and the New York Jets joined the Patriots in the strike in moves that place this weekend's first round of NFL regular season games in jeopardy. Other clubs are meeting right now to consider what to do. The Miami Dolphins and the Minnesota Vikings also took strike votes and voted not to participate. Other teams, including Los Angeles and Detroit, are reported giving serious consideration to joining the strike. So that's the latest as far as the National Football League Players Association management battle is concerned.
Well, here's the progress being made around the other major league ballparks tonight. That first game in Texas is now in the bottom of the 4th. The Rangers lead the 8th 3-1. Vida Blue against Gaylord Perry. Cleveland at Detroit scoreless in the second inning with Dennis Eckersley against Fernando Arroyo. Chicago at KC tonight will match up Jesse Jefferson and Dennis Leonard. Okay, Chuck. Well, here's Mark Belanger with his first plate appearance. He's hitting .227. Tiant, that canny, wise old head. Over the rubber in the first offering is cut on and fouled up the screen for a strike. Tiant throws so many darn pitches. He got the fastball, curveball, slider ball, fork ball, and he changes speeds. He'll throw 3/4. He'll throw directly overhand. He'll come down sidearm. He gives you that complete turnaround, twisting sort of a pitch on occasion. Pitch to Belanger is low for a ball. You talk about one of the most enthusiastic groups of fans in baseball. The bleacher section here at Fenway Park is just one of the most lively spots in anybody's ballpark. Now the 1-1 to Belanger. Ground ball by the pitcher. It's over the bag at second. The shortstop can't get it. Second baseman does throw. No, not in time. Belanger is there. Bingo, that much ahead of the throw. Ball not hit that sharply. Shortstop cutting in front of the second baseman. Burleson put the glove down, didn't come up with it, and then Doyle made the pickup and snapped the throw to first, but Belanger had too much speed, and the Orioles have their third hit. Here comes Gritch. He struck out against Tiant in the first inning. Tiant had spanned 3 of the Orioles. He got Gritch and May in order to end the first inning and Singleton on a called strike to start the second. The Tiant pitch to Bob Gritch. Big right-handed deal. Check swing foul loops to the box seats from the first base side. 1 strike. Hope everybody's all right down that way. Seems to be. Oh, the problem is they can't find the baseball. Now the 1-strike pitch to the waiting Bob Gritch. Belanger at first, kind of bobbing a little bit up there, jumping up and down slightly to try and attract Tiant. Now the pitch. It is outside for a ball, 1-1. Tiant looking to Carlton Fisk. He's ready to go again, and the 1-1 offering. He checks Belanger with a look toward first. A head bob, another head bob, now the pitch. It's high, and we go to 2 balls and a strike. Tiant wants to use another baseball. Plate umpire Brinkman provides him with one. Now the Orioles play here tonight and again tomorrow night. Anybody who is any kind of an Oriole fan knows how important these games are to Baltimore. Then the Orioles come home and will take on the Milwaukee Brewers Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday afternoon. Tiant's 2-1 offering to the waiting Bob Gritch. That big right-hander throws way outside. 3 balls, 1 strike. Three balls, 1 strike to Gritch. Belanger, the runner at first base. Nobody out. And Tiant ready to go. He head bobs, kicks, and throws. High foul will be out of play. We'll go to 3-2. Tomorrow night in this ballpark for the Orioles, it'll be Mike Torres, and it'll be Wise for the Boston Red Sox. The Sox lead by 4 1/2 games, and that's a heck of a big lead at this stage of the year. The 3-2 pitch now to Bob Gritch. Tiant throws, Belanger runs. It's a ball 4. And down to second base goes Belanger as Tiant has given up a walk to Bob Gritch. So with nobody out now in the top of the 4th inning, the Orioles have a little bit of something on the burner. Lee May, the batter, he struck out, as did Gritch in the first inning. Against Tiant now, the second time around. Let's see how May fared. Did he not have a great game in this ballpark earlier this year when he had one of those 7 runs batted in games, and they're great to watch. Tiant now working with Oriole runners at first and second and nobody out in his first offering to Lee May. Louis holds the set, now throws. Breaking pitch, swing and a miss, sidearm breaking pitch from Tiant, 1 strike. Tiant not wasting too much time, but slowing just a little bit with men on. Here's his 1-strike offering to Lee May. It's a bit outside, and the count goes 1 ball and 1 strike. And you get a crowd reaction on everything that Tiant does. Tiant ready once more. Down comes the 1-1 to Lee May. The Red Sox lead it by a count of 1-0 on a Petrocelli home run. Tiant's next offering, swing and a miss. He jammed in. Now it's a foul tip, so indicated by the plate umpire Brinkman, and this has hit Carlton Fisk. He's a little bit slow getting up. And the count will go to a ball and 2 strikes. Plate umpire Brinkman out there asking Fisk if he's all right. Apparently it's just a pretty good stop from that foul ball, and Fisk is ready to continue. There hasn't been any kind of bullpen activity at all on the part of either club. There has been 1 visit to the mound tonight by pitching coach George Bamberger. Palmer and Tiant, they're the principals in this first game battle in Boston. And the Red Sox at the moment lead 1-0. The Orioles with runners at first and second and nobody out. And a 1-ball, 2-strike pitch now to Lee May. Here it is. Struck him out. Swing and a miss. Tiant has fanned May for the second time, and that's his 4th strikeout. He just throws him hard breaking stuff, sidearm breaking stuff, going down and away, and Lee May has, well, nobody looks good striking out. He has fanned twice. We have 1 out now, and here is Ken Singleton. Now, Singleton went back to the dugout on a called 3rd strike in the 2nd inning. I don't believe I recall Singleton saying very much to an umpire, although he has been ejected one time this year. Certainly has a pretty good idea what the strike zone is. Tiant's first offering now to Ken Singleton. Louis throws. Swing and a ground ball slowly hit toward the first base, and Yastrzemski's got it. The only play is to tag first and retire Singleton as the runners move up a notch. Down to third, Belanger to second base, Grich to the plate. Don Baylor. He hit a line drive over the scoreboard and off the big green wall in left field in the 2nd inning, and suffered the embarrassment of being picked off by a heck of a pickoff throw from pitcher Louis Tiant. Only in the 3rd inning did Tiant keep the Orioles off the bases. They had Stillman get on in the 1st inning with a base hit, and then Belanger ran for him. They had Baylor single in the 2nd to get on. Now they've had Belanger single and a walk to Grich here in the 4th. The pitch coming down to Don Baylor, swinging a foul. It's off the screen behind the plate. Strike 1. Whoops, time. Here comes Darrell Johnson. So we've had Johnson go to the mound now, and each pitcher has had a visit from somebody in the dugout. Pitching coach Bamberger went to Palmer, and now here's Darrell Johnson out there talking with his pitcher, Louis Tiant. Whatever it was, they saw fit to discuss. Did not take too long, and Johnson's back in the dugout again. Oriole runners at 2nd and 3rd with 2 outs. 1 strike to count to Don Baylor, and Tiant is ready to go once more. He's working very slowly, very methodically. Here's the wind and the pitch coming to Baylor. Drives over the outside corner of the letters. 2 strikes now to Baylor. Get the crowd reaction to everything that Tiant does. These Red Sox fans in this part of the country are absolutely crazy about this ball club, and they feel that this is destined to be the year of the Red Sox, and they've been right so far. 2 strikes, the count to Baylor. Tiant looks toward Belanger at 3rd. Here's his pitch to Baylor. Ground ball hit toward the shortstop. Burleson has. Now the throw to first, and the inning is over. At the end of 3 1/2, Boston 1, Baltimore 0.
Rennie Stennett of the Pittsburgh Pirates has set a modern Major League record for consecutive hits. And by the way, before I continue, remember a couple of half innings ago I was talking with you about the National League. 1876 was the year I was trying to come up with then. Anyway, modern Major League record for consecutive hits. He grabbed 7 straight as the Pirates trounced the Cubs 22-0 in the most lopsided shutout in modern Major League history. Stennett also tied a Major League mark by twice collecting 2 hits in a single inning in a single game. Stennett had 2 doubles and 4 singles before tripling in the 8th, setting the record. Organizers of the Sweden-Chile Davis Cup semifinal tennis series are said to be upset over the latest news regarding their security precautions for the upcoming event. It appears that a number of determined Chilean activists will be able to penetrate the massive police iron ring around the stadium after getting tickets for the event, which is slated to start on Friday. Swedish tennis took ticket sales precautions to prevent that, and they are described as shocked at the news their measures apparently have not succeeded. Right now, let's pause for station identification. This is the American Forces Radio and Television Service.
It's the end. Canal Zone.
Well, here's Fredland. Palmer struck him out in the 1st inning. The Palmer pitch to Lynn is that slow curve, and a strike is called, and it's nice to see Palmer throw that pitch. He had not used it with any frequency through the early innings. Now, starting the middle innings, he starts Lynn with that slow off-speed curveball, and the count is 1 strike. The 1 strike offering Palmer to Lynn, it's low and away, and the count goes 1-1. The 1-1 offering to Lynn. Here's a fly ball down the left field side. It's going to be in those seats that I sometimes call no man's land down the 3rd base side here at Fenway. The box seats run right out to the foul line beyond the Orioles dugout. And some of the worst foul balls in baseball are hit into those seats. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Lynn. Palmer's pitch, high for a ball, 2-2. Well, tomorrow night, 7:30, a couple of 18-game winners. Rick Wise, 18-10. Mike Torres, 18-8. The 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck him out again. Palmer this time went back to the fastball. And Palmer has 4 strikeouts in this evening's contest.
14. Jim Rice.
Here is Jim Rice. He numbers among the Palmer strikeouts. However, there was quite a battle before Rice succumbed in the second inning. He fouled off 5 or 6 pitches before Palmer got the third one by him. This is one of the strongest individuals in the American League, is Jim Rice. The pitch, curve, and a strike is called. He threw that off-speed curveball to start Rice. And it throws it right at Rice's left shoulder, and it hits the strike zone over the outside corner around the knees. The 1 strike pitch, swing and a miss. And the count now 2 strikes to Rice. Palmer and Tion, and you could hardly ask for anything better than that. The 2-strike pitch coming down to Rice. It's low and away for a ball, 1-2. The Orioles have had some pretty good success in this ballpark. They've won their last 4 here at Fenway. Palmer is high and away, so we'll even the count now 2-2. Both of these pitches were, just kind of wasted efforts as far as Jim is concerned, hoping that Rice would, as fellows will now and then do, chase a bad ball. Now he's got to come with something. Into the move, down comes the 2-2 pitch. A high pop foul will be out of play behind the plate. Duncan is back to the railing, but it's way back into the seat. Fenway Park is a very exciting place to see baseball, and the excitement started early tonight. Well, shortly after 7 o'clock, when Louis Tion walked out to the Boston bullpen to warm up, he got a standing ovation from the people in the bleacher seats out there. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Rice. Ball 3 is blown outside. Red Sox have won 3 in a row. They also have won 4 of their last 5. The Orioles have won 5 straight, 10 of their last 12. The 3-2 pitch to Rice. Foul ball up the netting behind the plate. 3-2 to Rice. This fellow, the baseball at times really jumps off the bat of Rice. He has hit some of the hardest line drives I've seen hit in a long time. 3-2. Palmer ready. Here's his pitch. Foul ball out of play again. Headed toward the press box. Incidentally, I might add that you can't find a seat in the press box tonight at Fenway either. So this is just a great, big, enthusiastic Boston Red Sox crowd. There are some Baltimore people here. We have had a chance to talk to Mark Silverstein, who, along with Warren Marcus and Rich Schlenger, are here tonight. Bart Wheel and Mike O'Neill, Baltimore youngsters, who came up here to watch this game. Strike 3 is called. Rice is called out on strike. Palmer gets number 5 in that column. And that'll bring to the plate Carlton Fisk. Fisk was out on a check swing ground ball to the second baseman Rich in the second inning. A couple of the Oriole baseball fans, Paul Genovese and Leo Bennett. Here tonight to watch the Orioles and the Red Sox. Pitch coming down to Fisk. Swing and a long drive. It's going to be a home run. This one might carry over the screen. No, not quite. But Fisk has hit home run number 10, and the Red Sox lead 2-0. Some time ago against the Rangers, Palmer gave up 2 home runs in 10 1/3 innings of work. And then against Milwaukee one night, they nailed him for 3 home runs. And now here is Carlton Fisk with a home run to make it 2-0, and the batter now will be Dwight Evans. Ball outside to Dwight. That slow Palmer curve is low, and the count now 2 balls and no strikes. Coming into tonight's ball game, Palmer had given up only 1 home run to the Boston club, and that was that 10th inning shot by Cooper in Baltimore. But tonight the Sox have found the range not once but twice. They lead 2-0. The Palmer pitch fouled up toward the press box and out of play. 2 balls and 1 strike. Now the 2-1 offering, Palmer to Evans, just a little tight. It would go 3 balls and 1 strike. The 3-1 pitch to Evans, swing and a miss, and Palmer really reached and got a little extra on the fastball this time. With 2 out, another Boston home run, 2 solo home runs, Petrocelli, and now Fisk. And the 3-2 pitch to Evans. Palmer works. Ground ball hit toward the shortstop, Belanger. He's got it. Now the throw to Lime is in time, and that'll be the final out. At the end of 4, Boston 2, Baltimore nothing.
National Hockey League President Clarence Campbell says the way has been cleared for future international competitions involving National Hockey League teams and players. Campbell said the National Hockey League Players Association and team owners have reached a long-term agreement with competition against European and Soviet Union teams high on the list. He declined to give details, saying an announcement will be made soon. The House Ways and Means Committee considers legislation Wednesday aimed at restricting the use of professional sports franchises and their player contracts as income tax deductions. Congressional tax experts estimate that $73 million in revenue could be gained by the Treasury over the next 6 years if laws permitting the use of sports endeavors as tax shelters could be made more stringent. National Collegiate Athletic Association President John Fusak says the federal ban on sex discrimination borders on economic insanity, and he told a Senate panel that it threatens to destroy many university athletic programs. Fusak urged Congress to exempt revenue-producing sports such as football and basketball from that ban.
Well, during the upcoming weekend series against the Milwaukee Brewers, Friday night, which starts the homestand, will be Fall House Cleaning Night, and better known Friday night as Kids Grab Bag Night. The 7:30 ball game, of course, as well as leftover items from Oriole promotions this year, like jackets, caps, and T-shirts. You can just pull them out and take what you want. Okay, Chuck. Well, let's take a look at Paul Blair. The sidearm fastball is low to Paulie. Ball 1. Blair was gone on a fly ball to center field in the second inning. The Sox on 2 home runs, lead at 2-0. Top of the 5th inning, Blair with a swing and a miss. Now 1 ball and 1 strike. And a veteran ready once more. Here's his move, the 1-1 offering to the waiting Blair. Got the breaking ball over. The strike is called. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Shutouts are rare in this ballpark. Now the 1-2 pitch. Swinging a soft fly ball over the head of the first baseman, fading foul down the right field side. We'll hold the count at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Theon working on Blair. Here's the 1-2 offering. He's struck him out. A swing and a miss, and Blair goes down. That's number 5 for Theon. And we get Brooks Robinson, the first ball hitter in the 3rd inning. He flied fairly deep to the center fielder, Lynn.
Brooks Robinson. Okay.
Well, the first half of this ball game has most definitely belonged to the Boston Red Sox. Slow Theon curveball, the hesitation pitch, and you got the crowd reaction. The strike is called. He just corkscrews around, turns his back on the plate, and then unwinds and just kind of flips it. The 1 strike offering to Brooks. Sidearm fastball, but he's outside, and we got a count of 1 ball and 1 strike. And I'll tell you something, Mr. Theon can still throw hard. Make no mistake of that. 1 ball, 1 strike to Brooks. Theon ready, here's his pitch. Slow curveball is lying foul down the 3rd base side and bounced into the seats and then back out on the playing field again. 1-2, that's the count to Brooks. Tion's ready to go. Here's his 1-2 to Brooks Robinson. He struck him out. Swing and a miss. Brooks goes down. That's 6 strikeouts now for Tion. And now Dave Duncan. 6 Ks for Louis Tion tonight. He's really got it going. He's coming off a very strong effort. He pitched a 3-hitter the last time out. And it was a no-hitter for better than 7 innings. Well, tonight the Orioles have 3 base hits. They have all been singles. Swinging a ground ball at the shortstop, Burleson. He's got it to throw on to first base. And the Orioles are 3 up and 3 down. At the end of 4 1/2 in Boston, it's the Red Sox 2, the Orioles nothing.
Updating the scoreboard in Major League Baseball, the one final of the day, a game in which a number of Major League records were set. Pittsburgh 22, Chicago nothing. 22 runs on 24 hits and no errors for Pittsburgh. And no runs, 3 hits and 3 errors for Chicago. Candelaria got to win. His record is 8-5. Candelaria is a rookie this year, and he probably walk off the field today saying, this is the major leagues, but it is, and he got the win. 22-zip. Rick Russell was a loser. His record is 10-16. Hebner hit his 15th home run for the Pirates with 1 on in the 3rd. Montreal leads the New York Mets 2-0 after an inning and a half at New York. Carruthers for the Expos, and Marshall is pitching pitching for the Mets. Bailey hit his 5th home run for Montreal with none on in the 1st. Houston leads Cincinnati 3-zip after 2 at Cincinnati. Durker against Billingham. Philadelphia and St. Louis just getting underway at St. Louis. Simpson against Forsch. San Diego at Los Angeles. Atlanta at San Francisco later on.
Now, the announcers for the broadcast selected and paid by the National Brewing Company, Baltimore, Maryland, or its advertising agency, WB Donor and Company, subject to the approval of WBAL Radio. The ball game's going tonight in the National League. It's Houston 3, Cincinnati nothing at the end of 2. Montreal 2, the Mets nothing in the bottom of the 2nd. Philadelphia will be at St. Louis, San Diego, and Los Angeles, Atlanta and San Francisco. And today, you heard about the Pirates. They walloped the Cubs 22-0. Back here for the bottom of the 5th inning, Bill O'Donnell.
Thank you, Chuck, and hello again, everybody. Rico Petrocelli, who got the Red Sox ahead with a 3rd inning home run, has taken a strike on the outside corner. Palmer busting in another one. Here's a high pop-up towards 3rd. Belanger gets behind Brooks. He's 1 step in from the outfield grass and corrals it for the 1st out. Petrocelli gone, and here comes Burleson. Palmer threw 4 pitches to the Red Sox shortstop in the 3rd inning, and Burleson wound up with a walk and a 3-0 deal. Burleson has batted a good part of the year at the top of the order against certain pitchers, like he is tonight against Palmer, way down on the bottom. He's batting .256, 6 home runs, 61 runs batted in. He is what you can call a very aggressive young swinger. The breaking ball, a little tight in ball 1. Burleson, because of the outstanding years, especially of Lynn and Rice, has been somewhat in the shadows of publicity around this Boston ball club. 1-0. He swings and doesn't get it. 1 ball and 1 strike. After Burleson, it will also be Cecil Cooper. Burleson played into left field. The right fielder singled and cut towards the alley in right center. Pitch is in the dirt. 2 balls and 1 strike. The Red Sox so far, with 1 out in the bottom of the 5th inning, have picked up 3 hits and 2 runs. All the hits have been extra base wallops. The 2 runs on homers by Petrocelli and Fisk in the 3rd and 4th innings. Palmer replies, 2-1. He's got a strike call. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Burleson really spreading out the feet from the rear of the box, and on Palmer's 2-2, he fouls it straight back to the screen, and we ride right there, 2-2. Joe Brinkman has the ball strike assignment tonight behind the plate. A rookie on Nestor Shilak's crew. Terry Cooney is at first base. Nestor's at second, and McCoy is the ump down the 3rd base foul line. Palmer dueling Burleson with 1 out, nobody on. In 2-2. Here's a looping drive to shallow center field. Blair is rushing on, and he can't get to it. It dives in front of Blair and goes way behind Bobby Grich. Burleson was just about a half swing of the bat, looped it beyond Grich and well in front of Blair. Hit number 4, and that's really the only non-solid hit the Red Sox have tonight. All the others, of course, obviously very solid. Burleson, a 1-out base runner. And here comes Cooper now at the top of the order. Occasionally this year, a Boston first baseman. Most of the time, especially the last 3 months when he's been in the attack, he's been in there as he is tonight as the DH.
He has rolled to the mound tonight and laid down a sacrifice bunt. Burleson starts leading. He'll be held by Lee May. Cooper swings and doesn't get a tight, hard one, and it's strike one. Cooper in the month of July batted .346. In the month of August, batted .347. For the season, he's batting .321. Burleson with daylight, and there's a move made his way by Palmer and a little bit late. Red Sox swinging their leadoff man on the bottom of the fifth inning, and they are leading 2-0. The strike one delivery fouled off to the left, and it's 0-2. Palmer reaching back behind into the third base side of the rubber to just palm up and finger up quickly on the rosin bag. Now looks right down to Duncan. He'll give a checking look to Burleson, who has his edge away from the hold of Lee May. So look that way, and now the deal is in the dirt outside, and Duncan comes up with it. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Practically, right after the Red Sox batted for the first time, Palmer got in trouble, but then yanked away out of after a Doyle one-out triple to get Yastrzemski and Lynn for outs 2 and 3. He had a 1-2-3 second. The 1-2 pitch. A half swing and a foul tip for the third strike on a check swing by Cooper, and he's out on strike. Cooper was trying to stop only what was a half cut. He just got a piece of the ball off the end of the bat, and Duncan kept it right in the mitt. Cooper becomes out number 2. He is also Palmer's 6th strikeout victim of the ball game, and here's the second baseman, Denny Doyle. Doyle has tripled. He got stranded at third base after one was out in the opening inning. Palmer got him on a meaningless pop-up to short in the third. Now Palmer goes driving Burleson back to the bag again. Earlier this year, Denny Doyle was what you would call a no-headline guy out on the West Coast with the Angels, and then promptly became a big headline man here. A letter-high strike. No balls and 1 strike to Denny Doyle. Yastrzemski is on deck. Doyle batting with 2 gone in the bottom of the 5th inning. Palmer staying right in, glued to the rubber. Again he drives the runner back to first base, and this time Burleson has to dive in, hands extended. Doyle with a 3-base hit in the first inning also extended his hitting streak to 8 consecutive games. Runner goes. The pitch is tapped down the third base side. Duncan picks it up and then can't handle it. It comes out of the pit, and on safely is Burleson at second, plus Doyle the batter at first. It appeared initially like Duncan thought that Palmer was going to make the pickup on the tapper between the foul line and the mound on the third base side, somewhat closer to the foul line. Then Duncan realized that Palmer was not going to get to it in time, so Duncan went after it, and as he chased it down and reached down the mitt, it came off his mitt. It is an infield tapping single for Doyle. Burleson, who is running, has escaped to second base, and with 2 down, here's Yastrzemski. Yaz bounced out in the first inning, and then lined deep to right in the third, a drive on which Singleton made a pretty fine running grab. 2 on for Boston. Palmer to Yastrzemski with 2 out. He's low to Yaz, and ball 1. Now, Yastrzemski has always been, as most good left-hand batters are with power, has always been a good low fastball hitter. Until recently, he had trouble handling pitches up to his eyes. He's fighting off high pitches better of late. The 1-0. He sends a 1-hopper, 2-hopper at Bobby Grich, who bobbles the ball, can't make a play, and everybody is safe. The ball was back pretty good, but should have been routine. It was hit directly at Bobby Grich on 2 skips, maybe 3. He came down with a glove, off the arm, and off the hip. And Yastrzemski is safely on. Instead of Palmer and the Orioles batting in the top of the 6th inning, they've got to stay afield and now go after Freddie Lynn with the bases loaded. The first boot of the ball game has been charged to Grich. Both times up tonight, Lynn has been unable to handle Palmer. Palmer struck him out on heat, up and in the first inning. Struck him out again in the 4th inning on a high fastball. Bases jammed, 2 gone. Palmer in difficulty, but Grich has put him right there. And now Palmer, after gazing into Duncan, has broken behind the rubber. Rice is on deck. Lynn not out of the batter's box. Keep whipping the bat back and forth. Palmer's got his sign, making Lynn wait, making him wave the bat. Now he's going to deal him with the bases loaded. A swing and a miss. A little wrinkle on the pitch by Palmer towards the inside corner. These two star-studded Boston rookies tonight have been up 4 times and down 4 times on strike. Lynn is 0 for 2 on strikeouts, and so is Rice, the on-deck man. The 3 Boston runners lead. Palmer's motion and pitch. He's high. It almost took off. The fastball sailed up and in, and Duncan had to come up fairly high with a mid-hand. 1 ball, 1 strike. The Boston base runners with 2 out, Burleson at third, Doyle at second, and Yastrzemski at first base. Palmer is going full motion with 2 out, and the bases jammed with Boston runners. He's about to deal 1-1 to Freddie Lynn. He kicks and does deal. High and inside. 2 balls and 1 strike. Like the strike 1 pitch, which wound up a high inside ball 1, this next pitch by Palmer also took off a little bit. Took off high and in. 2 balls and 1 strike. Flanagan and Garland working right now in the Oriole bullpen. Palmer watching the runner at third is 2-1. Here's a high pop up towards third, hit extremely high. Brooks is on the foul line. He's in foul ground, and for the out, and the last out. No run. 2 hits, and 3 left. At the end of 5, Red Sox 2, Orioles nothing.
The Washington Redskins have gone on strike against the National Football League. That makes a total of 3 teams out. The New England Patriots struck over the weekend, forcing cancellation of their game with the New York Jets. And the Jets announced earlier on Tuesday that they have joined the strike. Player representatives of the Patriots broke off talks with management shortly before noon. They then headed back to the assembled players who were gathered in a restaurant about a mile from Schaefer Stadium. Bandy Vataha, the Patriot player representative, and the assistant representative, Ron Bolton, met with the owners of the Patriots. They discussed the 6-point proposal made to all the players of the league by the National Football League Management Council. Vataha would not talk about the discussions with management, nor would he discuss the proposals of the league. Basically, the whole key to this, as far as I can understand, Vataha is only a spokesman for the Patriots, but they say, look, we're paying each $300 a year membership in the union, and we've been without a contract for over a year and a half. And he said, this is ridiculous. We're paying $300 a year for nothing. Let's get going and let's get some action on this thing. And they figured, obviously, one way to start getting some action other than talk is to just simply go on strike. And that, of course, is what the New England Patriots have done. As far as I can ascertain, there's been no feeling as far as the Redskins or the Jets are concerned. They're not complaining against their own individual management, but they feel this lockout against the Patriots is a lockout against the union, and they feel that they should show support to the Patriots.
All right, we have finished the first 5 innings here at Fenway Park tonight. Through the first 5, Tiant has had stuff pretty much his own way. He is leading 2-0 and attacks now the Oriole leadoff swinger Al Bunbury, who is 0 for 2 on ground balls. The changeup is a strike called to Bunbury. Al bounced to the shortstop Burleson to start this ball game, and then grounded out to Doyle, the second baseman, in the third. Tiant, with a strike ahead, swings into his windup. A check swing foul off the bat of Bunbury and just grazing off the mitt of catcher Carlton Fisk. So Tiant, who through the first 5 innings has struck out 6 and given up 3 base hits, all of which have been singles, gets way ahead of Bunbury 0-2 with Belanger and Grich to follow. The next deal by the twisting Cuban. He is in the dirt right in front of the plate. 1 ball and 2 strikes. The Oriole hits so far have been an infield hit by Stillman off the glove of Yastrzemski in the opening inning, a single off the left field wall by Baylor in the second, and an infield hit by Belanger in the fourth, and that's it. Tiant with those twisting, turning moves of his. 1-2 to Bunbury. Overhand curve, slap to the second baseman. Doyle picks up the ground ball and throws out Bunbury. 3 times up now, 3 times out. Bunbury on infield grounders. Here's Belanger, who after Stillman's base knock in the first inning relieved him and has batted once since in the 4th inning when he had an infield hit. Tiant picked up 2 strikeouts in the very first inning. Got number 3 in the second, picked up number 4 in the 4th, and then got numbers 5 and 6 last inning. He's retired Bunbury now to begin the top of the 6th inning and goes after Belanger. He's in. Dealt high and strike 1. Belanger is played in quite a bit by Petroselli at third. He's played in halfway by Yastrzemski at first and well off the foul line. Tiant roaring right back with his 0-1. Strike two is called just below the belt of Belanger. Now he went with the first pitch a bit to the outside corner belt high. He moved the next one to the inside portion of the plate and right under the belt. He was ahead of Bunbury. He's now ahead of Belanger, and he comes in 0-2. Here's a line drive towards right field. Evans is breaking over. It bounces to his left side. He picks it up, makes a strong throw to second base, and holding with the single is Belanger. Now, had Belanger gone to second base, it would have been bang, bang, and borderline. Belanger might have made it, but Evans might have also tossed him out. So Belanger, down 0-2, has roped an off-field single. The Blade now has half the Oriole Bengals tonight. He's got 2 of the 4, and here comes Bobby Gridge. Bobby struck out on an 0-2 slider from Tiant in the first inning. Then he got aboard, was very selective in the fourth inning, looked over all of Tiant's pitches, and walked in a 3-2 deal. Gridge represents the tie run with 1 gun in the top of the 6th inning. Outside, it was also down to Bobby, and ball 1. The Orioles tonight are involved in their 9th game on this road trip. The tours have been to Milwaukee, Cleveland, and Detroit. The Orioles have won 7 on this trek and lost only 1. That loss was in Cleveland. Tiant to Gritch after a look to first. Hard stuff is way outside. Ball 2. 2 balls and no strikes. If Tiant has had her pattern through the first 5 innings, and the opening 2 batters here in the top of the 6th inning, it has been to throw a lot of hard breaking balls. Tiant with those St. Vita dancing hands of his. He's watching Belanger's 1-out lead away from Yastrzemski. His next pitch to Gritch. A letter high, outside corner, strike 1. 2 balls and 1 strike. Lee May, who has fanned twice against Louis Tiant, is on deck. Singled in his the bat rack in the Orioles third base dugout. Petroselli just backing up a bit of third base. Tiant to Gritch after a check of Belanger with an average lead. 2-1. Just outside. 3 balls and 1 strike. Belanger just had a 1-out off-field single to right after Bunbury grounded out to begin the top of the 6th inning. This is the 17th game of the season series between these 2 Eastern Division leaders, the first place Red Sox and the second place Birds. They have divided the first 16. Tiant with those pausing hands of his from just above the letters, right down now, tucked to his belt line. 3-1 to Gritch. Here's a high pop-up. It's in shallow center field. Doyle, the second baseman, back with Burleson. The center fielder comes in, and they drop the ball. The throw goes to second, and they get the 4th play. 3 guys were surrounding the high pop-up. Burleson and Lynn collided. They collided, but just brushed elbows. The ball dropped down. Lynn picked it up. Petroselli went to second base to cover. And Lynn threw to Petroselli to get Belanger and force him. Now, Belanger couldn't gamble. It looked like a tailor-made play for either Burleson, Lynn, or Doyle. There was a slight Lynn-Burleson collision, but not strong enough to knock anybody off balance. So the ball tore completely loose. Lynn picked it up. Petroselli, who was over at third base with second base unoccupied, went to the bag and took Lynn's force-out throw. So now Gritch is a 1-out base runner with 2 outs, and here comes Lee May. High and away, and a ball to Lee. Tiant looks over to Gritch's 2-out edge. Back to May 1-0. Here's a ground ball slapped foul down the third base side. 1 ball and 1 strike. And we're going to pause right here for station identification on the Orioles Baseball Network.
This is the American Forces Radio and Television Service.
It's the end to the zone.
Back we come with a 1 ball, 1 strike situation between Tiant and May. Gritch is stretching out his lead. It's only an average as away from Yaz. Tiant felt high stretch. 1-1 pitch. A swing and a miss. Those are the kind of pitches, that one right there, The pitch that struck out May in the first inning and struck him out in the fourth. And he's down now 1 ball and 2 strikes. Lee May played right in front of the warning path in left field by Rice. Played slightly towards the alley in left center by Lynn. All of right field is given him by Evans. Tiant with his overtime stretching look to Gridge. 1-2. Check swing foul. He got jammed in about letter high. Still 1 ball and 2 strikes. On this road trip so far, which has covered 3 cities and 8 games, the Orioles have scored 55 runs on this road trip, an average of 7 runs a ball game. They have been held scoreless through 5 innings and 2 outs with 1 hit here in the 6th. We've got Tiant to Lee May once again with a 1-2. Outside, also in the dirt, and Fisk had a ball to one knee to trap it. Ball 2 and strike 2. In the final 2 games to wrap up a 3-game series in Detroit, the Orioles amassed 17 runs. And last week, the Orioles had the most runs in all of the American League. They scored 49 last week, with the Red Sox and the Oakland A's behind them with 44. Lee May waiting 2-2. Here comes. Swing and a miss. He strikes out for the 3rd straight time, and it gives Tiant his 7th strikeout and the last out in the top of the 6th. At the end of 5 1/2, Boston 2, Baltimore nothing.
Here's top news in brief from American Contemporary Radio. I'm Keith Berman. ABC News is now projecting Democrat John Durkin the winner in the New Hampshire runoff election for the Senate. Senate Democrats say they plan no action to extend oil price controls until President Ford allows Congress 45 days to arrive at a compromise on energy. Republican Senator John Tower of Texas says he hopes the oil companies don't force the issue through price hikes.
I hope that they will not. We have every indication that the oil companies do intend to act with some restraint during this period of expiration of controls.
Senator John Tower, CIA Chief William Colby told Congress today his agency did violate a presidential directive in 1970 by illegally keeping a large supply of lethal weapons and poisons. Tropical storm Eloise hit Puerto Rico tonight with its 50-mile-an-hour winds, causing at least 7 deaths and a large loss of property. Eloise, now a hurricane, is heading toward the Dominican Republic. And that's ABC News in brief. Keith Berman reporting for American Contemporary Radio.
Chuck, the young man from South Carolina, Jim Rice, fouls off Palmer's first pitch, and this starts the Red Sox 6th inning. Rice batted the leadoff man in the 2nd inning, and Palmer struck him out in the 2nd on a fastball up and in. In the 4th inning, Rice took a fastball away for a looking 3rd strike, and he's down strike 1 rapidly now to begin the Red Sox 6th inning. Rice plus Fisk and Evans, and the Red Sox batting and leading 2-0. Strike as it hits the outside corner. It was at the knees of Rice. Last couple of days, Jim Rice has been suffering from a tender right wrist. He is the number 1 fellow on the Red Sox in terms of game-winning hits. He has 13 game-winning hits for the Red Sox this year. Palmer strides in and blows in the 0-2 pitch. Sidearm curve, he strikes him out swinging. Palmer was ahead 0-2 and dropped down with a hip-high breaking ball. So every time up tonight, the other part of the Red Sox rookie sensation has gone back to the dugout carrying the bat right with him. Here comes Carlton Fisk. Rice's strikeout is number 7 for Palmer. Here's Fisk, who bounced out on a check swing ground ball in the 2nd and then homered in the 4th inning. And Boston has been leading since the Fisk wallop 2-0. High and away, and ball 1 to Carlton Fisk. One gone in the Boston 6th inning. Breaking ball. He swings and he doesn't get it. 1 ball and 1 strike. That's one of the seldom Jim Palmer off-speed breaking balls he has thrown up there tonight. Evans is the Boston swinger on deck. Palmer keeping both feet now right to the rubber. Goes rocking and comes in 1-1. Hard breaking ball is strike 2 called. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Palmer has fanned 7. He's given up 2 runs and 5 hits. He got ahead of Rice, struck him out. He's ahead of Carlton Fisk in 1-2. Fastball is foul back, straight back and high out of the ballpark. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Palmer's last appearance in this park. He had one of the great pitching jobs of his career, or of anybody in this ballpark, and that was back on the 5th of August when he threw that magnificent 2-hit shutout and beat his mount opponent this evening, Louis Tion. Another 1-2 to Fisk. Here's a ground ball towards Brooks, right about even with a bag at third, and Brooks throws out Fisk with no trouble. 2 up and 2 down, and here is Evans, the right fielder. Palmer struck him out on a low curve in the second, and then made Evans roll out to short in the 4th inning.
Scoring director, make that play 6-5 on Richard's ball.
2 away, nobody aboard in the Red Sox 6th inning. Petroselli has made his way to the on-deck area. Strike, 1 is called, thrown hard by Palmer to Dwight Evans. Evans had quite an evening here last night, and the Red Sox went over Milwaukee. He went 4 for 4 and knocked in 4 runs. Now he whips the foul straight back. So Palmer's been ahead of everybody here in the 6th inning. Struck out Rice and then made Fisk round to third. He has moved rapidly ahead of Evans, no balls and 2 strikes. Palmer, smooth windup, big leg lift. And here's a fly ball towards right center field. It's way back. Blair is trying to run it down, and it's over his head, bounces on the warning pad, and then bounces beyond the Red Sox bullpen and into the center field bleachers right behind the Red Sox bullpen for a ground rule double. 6 hits for the Red Sox. 4 have been extra base walloped. 2 homers, a triple, and now an Evans 2-out ground rule 2-bagger. Speaking of the Fenway Park bleacher area, they sometimes refer to it as a cliff above the Fenway Park bullpen. There are some 7,500 seats out in those bleacher areas, and many times people will say there are 7,500 experts out there. I guess out in those bleacher areas, you must have rich man, poor man, beggar man, and maybe even occasionally a thief. Evans off second base with 2 out. Here's Petroselli. The breaking ball drops in for a knee-high strike. Mike Flanagan is warming again. He was up earlier with Wayne Garland. Petroselli broke a scoreless tie with a 3rd inning home run. Then he popped up in the 5th inning. Here's a high pop foul. Back towards the screen comes Duncan. He is right by the screen, and it falls back in about 2 rows. There's really no win factor in the ballpark tonight. Every once in a while, Old Glory, which is way back at Paul Blair, to the left field end of the bleacher section, begins moving and twisting around somewhat. But there's no factor of wind in the ballpark tonight. So one very definite aspect of this ball game from a fan standpoint is that there are more than 34,000 tucked in here very tightly. And that's all you can get in here, a little bit more than 34,000. Palmer, 2 strikes ahead of Petroselli. Palmer watching Duncan. And now he'll look right back at Evans off second base. Kicks and fires. Little low and outside. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Palmer not having quite the night, obviously, that he had back here in his last start in early August. That was the ball game when he retired the first 12 Red Sox swingers. 1-2 to Petroselli. He swings and doesn't get it. He tried to check a swing, but not in time. Palmer gets strikeout number 8, and we have finished 6 innings tonight. The Red Sox 2, the Orioles nothing.
Getting back to that National Football League players' strike, just to bring you up to date as to what's going on. First of all, the New England Patriots have voted to strike. They did that yesterday, they voted to strike on Sunday, thus canceling that exhibition game between the Patriots and the New York Jets. Then, a number of the other teams, including the Washington Redskins, said they would strike if the Patriots were locked out of practice on Monday. The Patriots were locked out of practice on Monday. New England management saying, if you're on strike, then we're going to lock you out until we either get a promise from you that you will not go on strike again, or that you will go ahead and agree to whatever contract has been made available by management. Of course, the Patriots told them what they could do with that idea, and so they're on strike. But now the Washington Redskins have also voted to go on strike because of the lockout effect on the New England Patriots. The New York Jets, the team the Patriots were supposed to play on Sunday, also have agreed to go on strike. Now, those are the three teams then right now who are officially on strike. Other teams and player reps are discussing the situation, and there's a wide variety of opinion, but those are the three teams right now definitely on strike.
Between innings, we had a little show here. Dancing on the roof of the Orioles dugout on the third base side was a gentleman dressed up as a witch doctor. And he was roundly applauded. Believe me, he was. Everybody here in Fenway kind of got a kick out of it. Then he was joined by somebody made up in a Red Sox costume, and it was just a lot of fun for a brief moment here at Fenway, where the Red Sox lead the Orioles 2-0 as we go now to the top of the seventh. Bill? All right, here are the Orioles now in the top of the seventh inning. Need 2 to tie against Tiant and 3 maybe to go ahead with Singleton, Baylor, and Blair. Tiant winding, and the Cuban Bull delivers. His hesitation pitch is a knee-high change-up strike. He has only used that occasionally tonight and used it right here to begin the seventh inning. Singleton has been out on strikes and grounded to Yastrzemski. The strike one deal from Tiant. High with hard stuff. 1 ball and 1 strike. Tiant a year ago was 22-13. Tonight, in his 33rd start of the year, he is 16-13. After Singleton, 1-1. Change-up, bounce wide of first base to the glove side of second baseman Denny Doyle, who throws out Singleton. 1 away in the Orioles' seventh inning, and here comes Baylor. Baylor has the hardest Oriole base hit tonight. He rocked the shot off the wall in left field. Rice played the carom of the base hit perfectly in the second inning and held Baylor to a hard single. Down also bounced to short in the fourth inning. Tiant with his windup, and the right-hander's changeup is high. 1 ball, no strike. Tiant doing tonight like he's done through most of his career, twisting, turning, pirouetting against every Oriole batter. Shows that number 23 as he delivers. A strike is called with a changeup. 1 ball and 1 strike. The biggest Oriole threat of the night came in the fourth inning when Belanger and Grich began the inning and both got on. 1 on a base hit, 1 on a walk. The next one to Baylor. Side armor, fouled straight back. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Baylor. After Belanger with an infield hit and Grich with a pass in the fourth inning got aboard with nobody out, Tiant struck out May, got Singleton to bounce to first, and got Baylor on a 0-2 pitch to bounce to short. Baylor trying to get aboard with 1 gun in the top of the seventh inning. Tiant watching Fisk, has what he likes. Kicks and throws. Sidearm breaking ball, grounded foul down the third base side. Tiant again to Baylor with 1 out, nobody on. From on top, he throws a curveball. It's grounded right by the shortstop, Burleson, and a base hit to left field. Tiant went twisting, and all he showed Baylor was number 23 on the back of that Red Sox uniform. Delivered right on top, a breaking ball up into the eyes of Baylor, and Don grounds a base hit between the shortstop and the third stacker. So Baylor's on a 2-for-3 night. The Orioles have their 5th safety off Tiant. It comes with 1 away in the top of the seventh inning. Now, there has been no activity in the Red Sox bullpen tonight, but there is right now. We got a mound session going on between second Sacker Doyle, catcher Fisk, and the Cuban himself, Louis Tiant. And when that breaks up, Paul Blair will begin to dig in unless he's called back. Blair is not in the on-deck area. He's not in the batter's box right now, but did go back to the Oriole dugout. Now the three-way conversation is breaking apart. Doyle going back to the right side of the infield. Fisk is making his way back behind the plate, and Jim Northrup will become the batter. They've got left-hander and right-hander warming in the Red Sox bullpen. The left-hander is the youngster, Jim Burton. The right-hander is Reggie Cleveland. Northrup has come from the dugout. He's in the on-deck area and will be announced as the pinch hitter for Blair. Northrup, you might remember, had a key base hit as a pinch hitter during the just-concluded Tiger series in Detroit. Northrup batting .274, 5 homers, 27 runs batted in, and Brooks comes right out behind him.
Number 2, Jim Northrup, hitting for Blair. Northrup.
All right, Northrup waving the wood back and forth. Baylor's the runner at first base with 1 out. The set on the pitch by Tiant is foul. Back right over the booth and strike 1. One of the Northrup 5 home runs this year have come off Boston pitching. And that one came in this park in late June and came against Louis Tiant. That was number 2 for Northrup this year. And came in an 8-2 Oriole victory over Tiant and the Red Sox. A look by Tiant right to Baylor. And now to Northrup 0-1. Changeup just outside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Northrup and Tiant testing each other here in the top of the 7th inning. Singleton bounced out to begin the 7th. Baylor just rolled a base hit to left. Tiant making Northrup stay and stand and wave the bat a couple of times in the batter's box. Back to Northrup 1-1. The changeup hit high towards center field. Freddie Lynn is racing in over towards left center, and Freddie Lynn for out number 2. Northrup, as a pinch hitter, batting for Blair, has been retired on a routine fly ball to the center fielder. Here comes Brooks now, who has flied to center and gone down on strike. One of Brooks's better performances this year with the bat came against the Red Sox, but came in a ball game in Baltimore in mid-April. He was 4 for 5 in that ball game and 2 runs batted in. Baylor extending what is now a 2-out lead away from Yastrzemski. So pitch to Brooks. Strike is at the knee. The Orioles so far with 2 out in the bottom of the 7th inning, having a tough time extending their winning streak, which has now gone to 5 straight. They've also taken 10 of their last 12. Baylor runs. The pitch is outside. This throws in the dirt, and Baylor has the steal with 2 outs. That is Don's 27th steal of the year. The only advantage that the Red Sox had, specifically with their catcher Fisk, in trying to throw out Baylor, was that the pitch was up. So when Fisk got the ball in the mitt, he did not have to straighten up. He was up already. Baylor off second with 2 gone. Brooks waiting to take on Tiant's 1-1 pitch. Doyle bluffs moving to the bag. Now the delivery. Fanned at and missed. High, hard one. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Baylor getting all the territory he can now away from second base. Every once in a while, Doyle makes some bluffing moves to try to cut down that lead. 1-2 to Brooks. Here's a high fly ball to right field. Evans coming up on the ball. He's there, and there's the 3rd out. We have finished 6.5 innings. The Red Sox 2, the Orioles nothing.
Checking the scoreboard, first in the National League, the afternoon game, Pittsburgh 22, Chicago nothing. Candelaria the winner, 8-5. Russia the loser, 10-16. Hebner hit his 15th home run for Chicago. Make that for Pittsburgh with 1 on in the 3rd. Montreal leads the Mets 3-0. That ball game in the bottom of the 5th at Shea Stadium. Carruthers against Matlack. Bailey hit his 5th home run for Montreal with 9 on in the 1st. Houston and Cincinnati have completed 4 at Cincinnati. Durker against Bellingham. Houston leads it 3-0. Philadelphia and St. Louis just getting underway. Simpson against Forsch. McBride hit a home run for St. Louis in the 1st, his 5th of the season. Nobody on base. Later, San Diego, Los Angeles, and Atlanta at San Francisco. First game of a doubleheader at Texas, the Rangers 4, the A's 2, with the A's batting in the bottom half of the, in the top of the eighth inning. They're still hitting. Sal Bandos hit his 15th home run for Oakland with none on in the eighth. Blue and Todd for Oakland, Perry for Texas. Harry hit his 19th for the Rangers with 2 on in the third inning. That's the first of 2. And Detroit and Cleveland have completed 5 at Detroit. Cleveland leads it by the score of 3-0. Eckersley for Cleveland, Arroyo for Detroit. Powell hit 23rd for Cleveland with none on in the second. Gamble hit his 15th for the Indians with 1 on in the fifth. Kansas City leads Chicago 2-0 after an inning and a half. Jefferson for Chicago, Leonard for Kansas City.
Rick Burleson in the Red Sox seventh line. The looper out to shallow right. Bobby Grich runs it down to his glove side. A little lazy looper that appeared when it came off the bat that it might get beyond Bobby Grich. Bobby ran as strong as he could to his glove side and just chased it down before it hit the grass in shallow right field. So Burleson is a quick out to start Boston's seventh inning. And here comes the leadoff batter, the DH Cecil Cooper. 34,724. Watching Palmer's first pitch bounced off by Cecil Cooper. Better than 34,700. The Red Sox attendance for 1975 comes close now to 1,650,000. Not quite that, but pretty close. And you can be pretty positive there'll be more than 34,000 here again tomorrow night. Cooper has gone 0 for 2 in this game, along with a third inning sacrifice bunt. Like one, bunted towards third base. Palmer gets there ahead of Brooks, throws in the dirt, and May digs it out. Palmer had to hurry his throw. He got to the bunt just inside the third base stripe, beat Brooks to the bunt, and then had to turn quickly and throw rapidly. He threw it in the dirt towards the second base side of the bag, slightly to the outfield side of the bag. Lee May went to it backhanded and came up with a clean dig-out job. So Cooper is out, and here comes Denny Doyle. He has 2 of the Red Sox hits tonight. A first inning, 1-out, 3-bagger, and then a base hit also in the fifth inning. Palmer working in to a left-hand batter with 2 out. A ground smash wide of first base. Quick sides and can't get it to his glove side, and it winds up in right field. Bobby gave it a strong diving bid, hard to his glove side, and it just escaped his outstretched diving glove. So Denny Doyle is 3 for 4 tonight. He tucks himself right in at first base with 2 out, and here's Yastrzemski. Yastrzemski was out on a chopper to Palmer right by the first base line in the opening inning. Palmer tagged him out. He lined hard to right fielder Singleton in the third, and then was safe on Rich's error of this ground ball in the fifth inning. Duncan and Palmer having a mound session before they meet Yastrzemski. Brooks against Yaz comes wide of the bag and well off the line. The Langer strong to his glove side, protecting ground shots up the middle. Lee May holding on the lead by Doyle. Strike one. That was a fastball away from Yastrzemski on the outside edge. Palmer's given up 7 hits in this game. A hit in every inning except the second. A hit or more. 0-1. Here's a high foul coming back just to the left of our booth. No balls and 2 strikes. The hits off Palmer. Doyle a 3-base hit in the first. And then after Jim cut down Rice, Fisk, and Evans, 1, 2, 3 in the second, he gave up the third inning home run to Petroselli, the fourth inning home run to Fisk, hits to Burleson and Doyle in the fifth, a 2-out double to Evans in the sixth, and now a 2-out single by Doyle here in the seventh. 0-2. It's high and tight. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Doyle extends his lead at first base. On the 1-2, it's in the dirt. Duncan has a little trouble finding the ball, then keeps twisting, finally finds it right in behind him, and Doyle stays around first base. Ball 2 and strike 2. A little more than a month ago when Palmer had that 2-hit shutout here and won his 16th game 3-0. The only Boston batters to reach him for base knocks that night were Fisk and Burleson. At the moment, Palmer is 2-2 to Yastrzemski, with Lynn kneeling behind him. Palmer gazes to Doyle, and here's a line drive on one hop, knocked down by the diving Bobby Grich. This time he throws out Yastrzemski. A great diving move and grab of a hard one-hop shot, and Grich dove and dug out, and then straightened up and threw out Yastrzemski. We put 7 innings on the scorecard. The Red Sox 2, the Orioles nothing.
Ricky Bell, who appears to be another find by Southern Cal's John McKay, turned in the best season-opening rushing game in 6 years last weekend. The 215-pound junior tailback rushed for 256 yards and scored 4 touchdowns in the 35-7 win over Duke. Bell's ground game ranks as the best in a season opener since Kent State's Don Nottingham gained 276 yards against Dayton in 1969. Other first-week leaders include Gene Schwick of Toledo in passing. He had 41 of 63 for 504 yards and 4 touchdowns in 2 games. Roger Profit of San Jose State in total offense with 288 yards, and Tom Fadden of Virginia in receiving with 9 catches for 94 yards. Mississippi State officials, apparently acting on NCAA instructions, are silent about reports that the school has been placed on probation for 2 years for alleged football recruiting infractions. University President William Giles refuses to confirm or deny the reports carried in Jackson and Memphis newspapers.
Well, we're ready to go now to the 8th inning at Fenway, and the Red Sox lead by a count of 2-0 in an effort to get a little offense generated against Peon tonight. Dave Duncan, due to lead off in this 8th inning, will not bat. It'll be Chopay to bat for Duncan, and here again is Bill. All right, Chuck, this is Earl Weaver's second pinch hitter now, and second left-hand swinging pinch hitter in the last 2 innings. Northrup batted for Blair last inning and flied out. Chopay swinging for Duncan, 9th in the order to begin the top of the 8th. Peon has worked a 5-hit shutout through 7. He's got strike 1, a letter-high fastball to Chopay. Tommy's been up 26 times, 4 hits this year. The 0-1 move by Peon. Breaking ball, fanned and a miss. He threw it hard up and in to Chopay's swing. No balls and 2 strikes. Bunbury will bat next. Belanger's also due behind Bunbury. Peon away in front, 0-2. Starts his rocking motion, kicks and throws. Swing and a miss. Chopay is down on 3 pitches. 8 strikeouts for Peon. And before Bunbury appears, let's pause for station identification. This is the Orioles Baseball Network.
This is the American Forces Radio and Television Service.
Al Bunbury now to swing away for the 4th time tonight. He's been out every time on infield grounders, once to Burleson and twice to the second baseman Doyle. Peon's pitch with 1 out. Fouled on the ground, trickling over to the Red Sox first base dugout. Peon's given up, as we said, 5 hits, but never more than 1 hit in any inning. Bunbury beginning to claw and scratch a little bit of dirt out of his spike. He's got Petroselli looking right at him from the grass inside third. Fastball hits the outside edge, and he painted the outside edge of the knees, 0-2. Peon at the moment, through most of this ball game, being his crafty veteran self. 2 strike pitch to Bunbury. Foul behind the plate. Everything he has thrown here in the 8th inning has been strikes. He clipped off pinch hitter Chopay on 3 strikes. He got ahead of Bunbury 0-2, and then Al just kept alive and fought off the last knee-high pitch. Another 0-2 offering comes to the D, Al Bunbury. Ground ball towards the hole at short. Digging it out, Burleson. He squared off and throws in time. Burleson with a rifle toss from over near the hole at short to get Bunbury for out number 2. Here's Belanger, 2 hits tonight and 2 at-bats.
Tiant picking up the wigwags of fifth. And here he goes to Belanger. Strike one is called. Well, home plate and Louis Tiant have been extremely friendly here in the top of the eighth inning. Tiant with that ball hitting right in the glove, taking signs with the throwing hand and the glove hand tucked right into the belt, and taking too much time to suit Belanger, who has been granted time to get out of the box from plate umpire Brinkman. 190-pound, 5'11" right-handed throwing Cuban Louis Tiant now makes Belanger wait again. Now he's finally going to deal in the 0-1. His changeup popped up to shallow right. Second baseman Doyle about 5 strides on the outfield grass for the last out. Tiant has one of his better innings. 34,000 applaud him as he goes to the Boston dugout. In the middle of the eighth, the Red Sox 2, the Orioles nothing.
A record equaling 19 Pacers have been entered for Thursday's 30th running of the Little Brown Jug at Delaware, Ohio. Because of the size of the field, the largest since 1961 when an equal number was entered, the 1-mile event will be run in 2 divisions. The first 4 finishers in each division will compete in a second heat. And if a horse other than one of the 2 division winners should win in the race-off, another heat would be run to bring together the 3 heat winners. Pre-race favorite Nero, loser only 3 times in his 2-year career, drew the number 9 position in the first division, which puts him in the second row. The New England Patriots and the team owners both rejected plans to end the football strike Monday. The players turned down a 6-point plan offered by the National Football League Management Council, according to the Patriots management. The management rejected a federal mediator's compromise plan, according to the Players Association and Executive Director Ed Garvey. The New England players approved that plan and said they ended their strike, but the club considered them on strike because they did not accept the management plan and therefore were not allowed to practice.
Well, the pinch hit effort of Tommy Schultz takes catcher Duncan out of the ball game. His spot is taken out by Jim Hutto. Hutto now catching for the Orioles. Palmer goes against the Red Sox and Lynn in the bottom of the eighth and back to Bill.
Well, Palmer's had some trouble against a couple of Red Sox batters tonight, but not Freddie Lynn so far. Here's a ground ball down the first base side and foul. Lynn and Rice are 0 for 6 against Palmer tonight. Lynn has fanned twice. So has Rice has fanned 3 times. And both these sensational Boston rookies each got their 100th RBI here last evening against Milwaukee. X-ball is high. 1 ball, 1 strike to Lynn. Struck out on the first, struck out on the fourth, and fouled out to Brooks in the fifth. Palmer takes him on. 1-1 pitch. Breaking ball hit high towards right field. Singleton is back in deep right, but well under it, waiting. He's got it. Lynn is gone for the 4th straight time. Here's Jim Rice, who has carried the bat back to the Boston dugout in the 2nd, the 4th, and the 6th innings tonight. Swung on a 3rd strike in the 2nd. Took a 3rd strike in the 4th. Cut again on a 3rd strike in the 6th. Palmer just disposed of the left-hand batting rookie. Now it's the right-hander who swings and doesn't get it. That was a very feeble swing by Jim Rice. Palmer winds, kicks and delivers. He's in the dirt. It goes right past his new battery mate here in the 8th inning, Jim Hutto, who has replaced Dave Duncan behind the plate. 1 ball, 1 strike. Palmer kicking and throwing. Low and away. 2 balls and 1 strike. To see Rice strike out is nothing new this year, despite his high batting mark and his great productivity. Rice has fanned well over 100 times this year. 2-1 from Palmer. Swing and a miss. That was power to power. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Palmer working on Rice. He and the Orioles are trailing in the 8th inning with 1 out, 2-0. Palmer replies with his 2-2 pitch. Fouled straight back under the press section. Rice played maybe 2 long giant steps, and that's all in front of the left field warning area by Baylor. 2-2 coming again. A line drive up the middle for a base hit. Rice gets his first hit of the evening after striking out 3 straight times. That was hit sharply, well past the glove side of Belanger towards second base and out to center field. Here comes Fisk. He and Petroselli have teamed up tonight for solo home runs. And that's how the Red Sox have managed their lead of 2-0. It has been 2-0 since Carlton Fisk hammered his 10th home run of the year back in the 4th inning with 2 outs. 8 hits now for the Red Sox to go along with their 2-0 advantage. Rice with his lead at first base, and he goes stepping back on Palmer's move to Lee May. Miller and Grant Jackson, right-hander and left-hander, now get busy in the Oriole bullpen. The next one to Fisk is high. 1 ball and no strike. Rice stretching out a lead and stays. Here's a ground ball towards Brooks. He plays it right behind the glass. Throws to second for 1. Rich's throw is in the dirt, and May can't come up with it. Now, Bobby got upset pretty good by a strong slide from Jim Rice with Rice forced to second base off Brooks' throw from inside the bag. Bobby threw the ball in the dirt in front of Lee May. May tried to scoop it out, got the mid on it, and then it dropped down to the pocket. So it's simply a 2-out for play at second. Fisk now becomes the runner at first base, and here's Evans. The Boston right fielder has fanned, bounced out, and doubled. Looking ahead to the top of the 9th inning, the 2 men are Bobby Grich, Lee May, and Ken Singleton, right smack in the middle of the attack. Palmer goes high, and ball 1 to Dwight Evans. Urselli is kneeling off stage. Fisk begins to extend just a little bit now his 2-out lead at first base. And as Palmer goes to the rubber, Fisk will get more daylight. There's a line drive to left, and a hit for Evans to move Fisk to second base. For the second time in this game, the Red Sox have 2 hits in an inning. They had 2 singles in the 5th inning when Burleson and Doyle, along with Yastrzemski, who was safe on an error, were all stranded. Here's Petroselli. Homered in the 3rd to get the Red Sox ahead. Has since popped up and fanned. In the Boston 8th with 2 outs, Fisk is at second, Evans at first base. We've got a Jim Palmer, Jim Huddle meeting at the grass right in front of the mound. Dyer Miller and Grant Jackson are still throwing in the Oriole bullpen. Palmer was just checking his outfield, specifically checking the spot of Jim Northrup in center field. Lee May very wide of the foul line and right back of Evans' lead. Fisk is off second. Here's a fly ball to right field. Singleton broke back. Now Singleton breaks in, and he runs it down. Singleton was breaking back on the drive, then applied the brake and charged in and ran down the Petroselli fly ball. At the end of 8, the Red Sox 2, the Orioles nothing.
In case you missed it, here's details of some of the games played Monday in the Major Leagues. Rookie Mike Vail of the Mets, batting .342 since being called up from Tidewater in mid-August, extended his hitting streak to 23 games. That's the longest in Major League Baseball this season. It's also a modern National League record for a rookie, and it ties the Mets club mark. The Mets a 3-2 win over Montreal in that game. Elsewhere, St. Louis edged Philadelphia 7-6. That dropped the Phils 6 behind Eastern Division leading Pittsburgh. The Pirates split a doubleheader with the Cubs on Monday, losing the opener 6-5 and taking the nightcap 9-1. Los Angeles turned back San Diego 5-4. Bert Hooton won his 11th straight. Atlanta collected 18 hits to bomb the Giants 12-0. In the American League, Boston outslugged Milwaukee 9-7. Kansas City edged the Chicago White Sox 3-2, and Minnesota outlasted California 7-6 in 12 innings. The game between Oakland and Texas was rained out. And that's a look at what happened in Major League Baseball on Monday. One college football game was played Monday. Notre Dame and Boston College. And the final score in that game, Notre Dame 17, Boston College 3.
Well, we'll go to the ninth inning. It's got to be inning for the Orioles, and the trio due to face Tion in this top of the ninth inning have just not been able to sing with Tion tonight. Gritch, May, and Singleton. Okay, Bill.
All right, Chuck. Bobby Gritch is 0 for 2 plus the walk. Lee May, the on-deck man, is 0 for 3. Ken Singleton is 0 for 3, and here's Gritch in the ninth. A knee-high outside corner, strike one. The Red Sox and Tion leading 2-0. It appears that Tion wants to work a bit more rapidly now. He's a strike in front of Gritch and deals Bobby. Here's a high drive to deep left center field. Back goes Rice on the warning path in front of those scoreboards for the first out. He was almost halfway back on the warning area in front of the big scoreboard. Gritch is gone, and here's Lee May. To say that Lee May is overdue is kind of an overstatement. Struck out in the first inning on a side-on curve, struck out on an overhand curve in the fourth, and fanned again on a breaking ball down and away in the sixth inning. Batting here with one gone in the ninth. The changeup is way outside and low. Singleton is kneeling on deck. The 1-0, Tion to Lee May. Sidearmer fanned out and missed. He came down with a hip side snapper to the swinging bat of Lee May. 1 ball, 1 strike. Tion starts to cut it loose again. 1-1. Fastball is low and away. 2 balls and 1 strike. Tion's retired the last 6 straight since a base hit by Baylor in the 7th inning. Two-1 to May. Full and ball 3. 3 balls and 1 strike. Right-hand thrower, right-hand swinger, Tion to May. Strike 2. Looks like Lee May was on the take. He got a bell-tie fastball pretty much down the alley. 3-2. The break-even deal to Lee May with 1 out, nobody on. Here's a high drive to right field. It's not deep. Evans is coming in. Evans is under it. He makes the catch. That's out number 2. Now, from an Orioles standpoint, Ken Singleton had better get on and bring up Don Baylor. If they could get Singleton on and bring up Baylor, they'd bring up a tie run. Singleton has taken a 3rd strike, has bounced to first and grounded to second. Ken has hit safely in 6 of his last 7 games. He's had a pair of 12-game hitting streaks this year. He's the top Oriole with a batting average of .306. The windup and the pitch by Tion to Singleton. Low and ball 1. Petrocelli has crept in right to the infield grass at third on the 1-0 to Singleton. Strike, cut to plate. 1 ball, 1 strike. For the 20th time this season, the Red Sox have drawn more than 30,000 at Fenway, and 34,000 are going bananas on the 1-1 to Singleton. In the dirt, 2 balls and 1 strike. Tion looking down to fifth. He has his sign, makes his motion, and the 2-1 pitch. Here's a high fly ball towards right center. Lynn coming over from center, makes the grab. The ball game is over. The Red Sox win the first game of a 2-game series. They extend their lead in the American League's Eastern Division to 5.5 games. They just get superb pitching from Louis Tion, and they got solo home runs to win the ball game from Petrocelli and Fisk early in the ball game. Final score: Boston wins it 2-0.